As Venezuelan, I can say that there was plenty of rejoice in Venezuela. So far, what I'm seeing is them handing out some candies to Trump to keep him, to keep him happy, and to try to continue hold on to their natural allies. Prior to the intervention, we do know that Trump spoke to Xi Jinping on Venezuela. For Russia, it's an important position, military position, and they would ask, I'm certain that they will be asking for something in exchange. What we are seeing here is a re-establishment of the rule of law and order, which we do welcome, and I'm sure that many Latin American countries also welcome.
How could the invasion of a country have anything to do with a rule of law? In fact, the very act of invasion, even if it had the congressional approval, would have been against a lot of UN conventions. The invasion, you do see that as problematic, don't you?
It's very hard to say.
The capture of Nicolás Maduro by the US has sent shockwaves across the world, with many worried about what this may lead to. Is the invasion of Nicaragua, Cuba, and even Greenland next? How will China and Russia, which so far have just criticized the US action, react going forward? Then there are questions about what's next for Venezuela. Will the country slip into a civil war with anti-imperialist Chavismos on one side and US-installed government on the other? What will happen to Venezuela's oil? Now you need someone who knows the country, the people and the stakeholders involved very well to authoritatively answer all those questions. That's just the kind of guest I'm joined by today. Maria Alejandra Aristeguieta-Alvarez. She is the interim President Guaido's representative to the Swiss Confederation and to the United Nations and other international organizations. Ambassador Alvarez is an international policy expert who has spent more than 20 years in Geneva. Before moving to Geneva, she served as a chief cabinet to the Venezuelan Minister of Foreign Trade and was a staff member of the Venezuelan Congress, where she was executive director of the Foreign Affairs Committee and deputy director of the Inter-Parliamentary Office. Ms. Alvarez, thank you for taking out the time and talking to us. My first question to you, ma'am. You've been critical of the Maduro regime, especially on its record of human rights. How do you see the US action?
Yes, well, thank you very much for having me here, Abhishek. First of all, I think the US action is a very controversial one, a very risky one too. There have been talks about international law and violations of international law, and we know that this is not a very orthodox way of acting in any country. However, as Venezuelan, I can say that there was plenty of rejoice in Venezuela, and that we have tried for the last 20 years to work within the international community and international law, and this has reached its limits. And therefore, for us as Venezuelans, in spite of the fact that this is something controversial, we are all very, very happy.
But this definitely sets a strange precedent, because how is Russia going to look at it? You've been critical of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. How is China going to look at it, which is, of course, eyeing Taiwan?
This is precisely what we think this is the reason why we think it's a very controversial measure and a risky one. Because as we enter in this new world order that has been set up in the last couple of years, we are seeing the deterioration, the final deterioration of the post-World War system. So this is something that will need to be remedied very, very soon. And I hope that by this diplomacy imposed by Trump, that peace through strength, we will reach that position where international law is again our north. It's where we all heading.
And also, how would you characterize the stand taken by the European Union on the issue? Do you think their meek reaction, the supplication, will make things really hard for them when Trump goes after Greenland?
Well, I think with regards to the United States, of course, they do fear not just for Greenland, but they fear for Russian actions. That's it's at the border. It's not very far from where I live. But in terms of their relation with Venezuela, it's been very, very weak. The last couple of years, it's been lukewarm, to say it lightly. And the different interests from the different European nations makes it very difficult to work with the European in a commitment to help us get rid of this fearful dictatorship that has not only violated human rights extensively, but has international, it's at the international court under investigation.
You have been representing the country. You're also aware of what's happening on the ground. You have been writing extensively on, platforms like the Caracas Chronicles and elsewhere. For our viewers, if you could describe the condition of the Venezuelan people under Maduro.
Yes, of course. Venezuelans in general have lost around 11 kilos since Maduro took office. This is very much one of the reasons why we go on protests. There has been a humanitarian crisis going on for a long time, and people cannot find medicines, they cannot find food. Healthcare is in shambles, and people have been migrating. Migration numbers go from 8 million to 9 million. We cannot really count them because they go through all different routes to Colombia, Brazil, Panama, and they have reached many countries around the world, including the United States. So what we are talking about here is the devastation of a country from within, from the power, from their government that has instigated fear and has, instead of working towards progress and development, has diminished the country in a way that it became, from being the fourth economy in the continent, in the region, in the Latin American region, it is now around the one or two before the last. It's around Haiti, Panama's size, which is, they are both, well, Haiti is the smallest country and the weakest country in the region, and Panama, it's a rising economy, but nevertheless a small country, a very small country. So what I'm saying here is that basically Maduro has destroyed the country. Maduro and his team, and part of his team is Delcy Rodriguez. So what we were surprised to see was that Trump, instead of bringing in the opposition, our president-elect, who is in exile right now in Spain, he chose to work with Delcy Rodriguez, the vice president, which is as illegitimate as Maduro is. So, and basically the regime is still in place, the dictatorship is still in place. So this is, for us, this is why I was saying right at the beginning before we started the program, that for us this is an evolving situation and it's one step at a time.
That's the next question that I wanted to ask you. And I wanted to base it on what you wrote in the Caracas Chronicles, in which you cited a UN report on the condition of human rights of Venezuelans under Maduro, that Venezuela has transformed into a full-fledged dictatorship where Maduro and his inner circle have erased almost all their opponents, forcing them into hiding, prison, or even death through methods consistent with the Rome Statute's definition of crimes against humanity. So Maduro's gone now. He is in the US. He will be put on trial as he has pled not guilty to the charges levied against him. Do you think with Maduro gone, anything will change on the ground? After all, the same set of people he handpicked are going to be running the country.
I think things are changing. We have seen some liberations of political prisoners. We were expecting it to be, we have more than 1,000 political prisoners, amongst them teenagers, elderly, women, you name it, and for all sorts of different accusations and crimes, from posting something on social media to talking to talking to the neighbors and saying things that against Maduro. So we were expecting liberation of more political prisoners. Nevertheless, some things have started to move, and we are seeing a combination, and this is a bit of a dance for Delcy Rodriguez and her brother, who is leading the National Assembly. They are trying to buy time and at the same time give some concessions to the United States. I'm hoping they will go really into a reform program, but so far what I'm seeing is them handing out some candies to Trump to keep him happy, and to try to hold on to their natural allies, which are China, Russia, Cuba, and Iran.
And what do you make of Russia and China's reaction? I mean, there was expectation that Russia and China will intervene because, of course, they both have, interest in Venezuela and ensuring that the Maduro regime, survives. What do you make of the meek and muted reaction which has come from Russia and China? They both criticize it, of course, but not much was done by Russia or China.
Precisely, that's a very, very good question. China discussed prior to the intervention. This is something that the pressure has been building for the last 4 or 5 months. So prior to the intervention, we do know that Trump spoke to Xi Jinping on Venezuela, and I think they're turning a blind eye to this. And Russia has stakes in Ukraine. So I think there might be some concessions here, and this is something we cannot talk about right now. But it seems, as things will evolve and we will have some more information, we will see Russia having exchanges with regards to Venezuela. Don't forget that Venezuela is very close to the United States. It's a strategic position, not just because of oil, but it's because it's at the north of the Latin American region, and it's 2 hours away from the United States. So for Russia, it's an important position, military position, and they would ask. I'm certain that they will be asking for something in exchange if they are requested or forced to retire from Venezuela, retreat from Venezuela.
What's also worrisome for Latin American countries is that Trump seems to be a fan of the Monroe Doctrine, and he sees Latin America as his backyard. He wants to be the sole player there. Do you think that's a threat to countries like Venezuela? Of course, he's already said that Venezuela should follow Washington's instructions, but then he's also spoken about Colombia. He's also spoken about Cuba. So the times that we're living in, is it especially bad for Latin American countries?
No, quite the opposite. I think what we are seeing here is a country that is finally paying attention to its, what they used to call backyard. Now they're calling it the front yard. They want to partner with Latin American countries and be sure that growth and economic growth and prosperity are shared with Latin American countries. One of the reasons is because they have a high migration of Latin Americans that come through the southern border to the United States, and one of the electoral office was just to make to stop this migration. And one of the ways of stopping migration is to ensure that economic migration stops. Now, with regards to Cuba, Nicaragua, these are two dictatorships that are close allies to Venezuela. They work together in coordination. That you can see them working together at the UN. You can see them working together in the region. And we have Cubans. In fact, the inner circle of Maduro security guards were all Cubans. They were all killed by this operation. But we do wonder what are Cubans doing in Venezuelan soil, working as their protection, as security protection of Maduro. And basically, we had been invaded by these countries, by Cuba, by Iran, by Russia, and by China. So what we are seeing here is a reestablishment of order in Latin America, and with different allies, trade will flow again to the United States and from the United States, as it used to be, as it always has been. Venezuela's first trading partner used to be the United States. Nowadays, it's very hard to say because it's such an opacity. We don't have any numbers, but it's basically China who takes our exports, and oil exports are, of course, sanctioned, but they go through shade vessels to Russia and to other countries. So what we are seeing here is a reestablishment of a rule of law and order, which we do welcome, and I'm sure that many Latin American countries also welcome, because migration was a problem in Latin America. Venezuelan migration into Colombia, for instance, it's reaching 3 million people. It's very hard to handle by any country. It's very hard to handle the implications of having such a high migration.
Mr. Alvarez, how could the invasion of a country have anything to do with a rule of law? Some have been arguing that, they see a lot of similarity between what Donald Trump has done and how Maduro used to operate, in the sense that when Donald Trump decided to invade Venezuela, he did not have the congressional approval. In fact, the very act of invasion, even if it had the congressional approval, would have been against a lot of UN conventions. So how are you saying this is connected to the establishment of rule of law in the region?
We heard Rubio talking about the three different phases. So first of all, it's stabilization. Afterwards, we are going to re-enter in election process or in the reestablishment of institutions. So we are talking about a process, as I've mentioned before, into a process that will take us to the re-democratization of Venezuela. Don't forget that before Chavez, Venezuela was a democracy. So that's what we are seeking, and that's what we're working on.
Chavism is a word which is still relevant in Venezuela. Do you think it's dead?
By the counts of the elections that took place last year in 2024, and we won in spite of all the difficulties, in spite of all the obstacles, we won by around 70% of the vote. So I would say very much that Chavism is dead. We saw in the military compounds voting people. I mean, we didn't see them vote. Didn't see them actually voting for the opposition candidate, but the results at the end were very, very clear. Edmundo González won the elections, even in the military compounds.
So while you do see that there is a possibility that elections could be held later in Venezuela once things stabilize, but of the act itself, of the invasion, you do see that as problematic, don't you?
It's very hard to say. I mean, from an analyst perspective, it is problematic. From a Venezuelan perspective, as a Venezuelan national, we think they captured. This has to do with national security, with the U.S. national security. It's a drug trafficker. It's a person that has been sending criminals to the United States. So for us, we can only be happy about the situation, and we don't consider it. Nobody in Venezuela considers this to be an invasion. It's the capture of. They just captured a criminal.
But you've seen in cases of other countries which US invaded in the past, from Afghanistan to Iraq and others, it hasn't really been good for people of those countries. What do you think is going to happen in Venezuela, and why will it be different?
Well, it has been different in other countries. We always go back to Panama as an example, which is the closest to us. In 1989, there was a full-fledged invasion by the military, by the U.S. military, and they were able to reestablish the democracy in that country, and it has been a prosperous and it's been working as a democracy, a working democracy in the last 30 years. So we don't see it as Iraq. There are no factions in Venezuela. There are no religion problems. There's no ethnic problems. Venezuelans are used to living in very much, I would say, we are used to living in freedom. And all we want is to be able to go back. Most of the people outside in exile, the 9 million that are in exile, all they want is to be able to go back, whether to go back and live in Venezuela or to go back and without any fear of being taken prisoner. So for us, this is not going to be something that we would see the United States leaving behind a chaos. We think we are all ready to rebuild the country.
A lot of people online and elsewhere have been arguing that Chavism is still very strong in Venezuela, and you're saying there are no factions inside Venezuela. What are you basing that argument on?
Well, we're seeing them fleeing to the opposition ranks. We have seen the voting results. We saw them in the election day talking to us, reaching out to us, and Chavism is pretty much it was a caudillo. Chavez was a caudillo. Maduro did not have that clout, did not have that power. He was a different kind of political figure. So it's been washing out, and whatever is left is just around 15% of the country. And what we have been working on is on transitional justice with those that are those that have committed crimes, but with the rest of the country, all we want is to be able to have a normal relationship between all the different, the different citizens. People tend to forget very easily once you are you don't feel that you are being persecuted. And we are aspiring to reach that point very soon. We have reason to believe that Chavismo is just a couple of people around the powerful persons. Diosdado Cabello is holding on to the armed groups, the irregular armed groups that he created, and these are around 3,000 people. So we think that this will be fairly easy to control in the midterm. I cannot say in the short term, but eventually this will be eliminated. Of the people, around the people, we don't have any differences. I have one of my best friends has been working with the Chavismo for the last 30 years. She stayed in the ministry. I left the ministry, and in spite of that, we continue to exchange very, very vividly. And she too decided she was going to step out and come to the opposition. So this is the kind of examples that I can, we're seeing it all everywhere all the time. So we are very confident that Chavismo is dead.
And you're not worried about, a civil war sort of a situation breaking out?
Oh, no.
No?
No, not at all. We do see, as in any dictatorship, once it's been toppled, once the dictator has gone, you do see chaos. You haven't seen chaos in Venezuela right now, or you haven't seen demonstrations of, people in the streets, because people are scared of these colectivos, these armed groups. But once we're over that phase, I'm sure that this is not going to happen. There's no chaos in Venezuela. People just want to get back to work. But I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. The number one issue for Venezuelans is to recover peace and tranquility, and this is what we are offering. We don't want any kind of confrontation with anybody. Politics is not about confrontation and not enemies. We're just, you can be an adversary and we can discuss, and that's it.
Perhaps the Venezuelans are silent because they believe, although, yes, Maduro has been captured, but the regime and the system still in place.
Absolutely. This is the reason they have not celebrated. They have not gone out in the streets. You have seen here in Miami, I've seen plenty of people celebrating for the first couple of days. In Argentina, there was a huge demonstration all over Europe, in Madrid, everywhere. People were celebrating, but not in Venezuela. They were scared of any consequences. And of course, 14 journalists were taken to prison for reporting about the situation in Venezuela. And a couple of persons that had been celebrating and expressed their joy were taken to prison too. So this is the reason why you haven't seen that celebration yet, but it will come.
And what do you make of Donald Trump's statement that he wants the proceeds from the oil sale to go into a bank account, and he will decide, how that money will be used for the benefit of the American people and Venezuelans?
We have to understand better what that means. I don't think it's totally clear. And he's talking. We have to also try to identify when he's talking to his community, to his electorate, and when he's talking internationally or to us. This is something that we need to analyze more deeply. But it is true that oil revenues were not going to the people. We have hospitals in shams. We have schools, school desertion. Poverty has increased tremendously. And as I was telling you a moment ago, people in Venezuela on average has lost 11 kilos. So, and children are totally, I think it's around 16% of children are in acute malnourishment. We are talking about the results of a war without having a war in Venezuela. So the rebuilding of the country needs those funds, needs that money. And if Trump is saying that he's going to keep it to make sure that it doesn't go, it's not diverted into somebody else's pockets, with the right supervision and transparency and accountability, we are ready to accept that as a condition.
And who do you think is the face of the Venezuelan democracy going to be? Are there any names that you can think of?
Definitely, Maria Corina Machado is the opposition leader. She was barred from elections last year. She won the elections, the primary elections. She was going to be our candidate, and she was barred. And there was a situation where we decided to choose, and the person that was chosen was a former ambassador, a good friend of mine, who took the responsibility to go into elections. And, she campaigned for him all along. He is a person who's, totally different profile. He's not a politician. Nevertheless, he accepted the challenge, and both of them worked together, and he won the elections he won the elections mainly because Maria Corina Machado campaigned for him and told everybody how they should vote, and that they should vote for Edmundo González Urrutia. So I have no doubt she's the leader. She has deserved the Nobel Peace Prize for this campaign and for the work that she has been doing to regain democracy in Venezuela and to make sure that this is a peaceful process.
And do you think she should give or at least share her Nobel Peace Prize with Donald Trump?
That's part of the political game, isn't it? I'm sorry. This is part of the political game. We do know that Trump is flattered very easily, or people try to flatter him all the time. So this is part of what needs to be done in order to continue that relationship. I don't think that she has. I don't think that the important thing here is not whether she shares it or not, but what is she going to do with this Nobel Peace Prize? And she has already said she wants to establish an institution for children to work towards peace and democracy in Venezuela.
But is she as popular? Could she actually replace somebody like Maduro in Venezuela? Trump administration clearly believes that she isn't.
Let me reshuffle this a little bit. We have seen Trump addressing to different presidents and different politicians in a very, very strange way. And the first one, I think it was a shock to all of us, was the way he treated Zelensky in the Oval Office. And this, so what we think Trump is doing is just putting her aside while he operates with the people in place in Venezuela on the ground, because she's currently in exile. When she left the country, when she received the Nobel Peace Prize, she escaped. She flee the country, and she went to Oslo to receive her Nobel Peace Prize. And she was counting on going back to Venezuela, but she has not been able to do so yet. So I do think she will be in politics for a very long time, and I think she will be president of Venezuela.
All right. On that note, Ms. Alvarez, thank you so much for taking the time and talking to us, and all the best to you and to your country.
Thank you very much.